Well, we got some news to go over here. Right on time. Right on time. They did it just for us, the timing here. But you're tuned into WinDailySports.com. Targets and touches. We're going to go over some of the players for week one. Now, usually when we go through this in a normal week, we're going to have some type of information to base this off of, and we'll take a look at the top targets, whether or not that they're going to be able to carry over into the next week. But right now, it's going to be a little bit of us just predicting what the targets could look like and who could get a potential big-time target share. But first, what we have to start off with on targets and touches here at WinDailySports.com, all sponsored by the Sharp app. You can sign up there, and when you sign up on the Sharp app, you can get a month free of gold membership for WinDailySports.com. So definitely take advantage of that for the first month of the NFL season. But Latavius Murray, he was just let go by the Saints. Apparently, according to Adam Schefter, Latavius Murray was asked to take a pay cut. He said, hell nah, I'm coming off career numbers, buddy. And they said, well, you're done. You're out of here. So now, first of all, what does that do? Because Latavius Murray is a little bit of speculation and guessing, but at least we have the concrete of we know what the backfield for the Saints is. How are we taking a look now at the backfield for New Orleans? I mean, I guess it can't move Alvin Kamara up anymore. And it already, I mean, he's already a top back, and I don't think this changes his numbers at all, really.
No, I really don't. I think New Orleans knows how to get the most out of Alvin Kamara, and they've proven that over the years. They don't want to run a guy like that into the ground. They're planning on him being there for years to come. So this just gives a solid bump. Apparently, they like Tony Jones Jr., which they talked about how they liked him, but I didn't realize they liked him to an extent where they were willing to cut Lat Murray if he didn't take a pay cut.
Yeah, it's one thing to like a guy, but I mean to have this much confidence, especially now you're replacing a dude that had career numbers. Like Latavius Murray had a really good year last year. And of course it's going to be capped because he's a backup running back, but in terms of just the efficiency and the production that he was able to have with the touches that he had was really good. And I thought the Saints could have really used him because Alvin Kamara, I imagine, needs to be used more in the passing game. And that's a role I wouldn't be surprised to see like Alvin Kamara lined out wide because they bleeping need it. They have nobody. So I find this really odd. I find it also to be kind of scummy to do this right before the season. And now you go, you take a pay cut, even though you had career numbers. And then you're not going to do it. Okay, so we're just going to let you go. Whatever. The Saints suck. So now the next question becomes like, how interested are you in whatever potential landing spot that Latavius Murray has? I know we have to build in the context of wherever he lands, but it's certainly something I'm absolutely keeping my eyes on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of teams, and I know my first thing was, I don't trust the knee of Sony Michel. So he could end up on the Rams also, and that
he's a better runner than Sony Michel at this point, right?
Yes,
do we both believe that? Okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't have that knee condition. That's my concern with Michel. He looks fine, but he was like the early stages of Todd Gurley's knee kind of starting to cause him issues. I can kind of see him wear down similar to that down through the year. There's actually, and I was just kind of thinking about it. I know folks like Myles Gaskin, a lot down in Miami, but if they had a big back like Lat Murray in that Miami running game,
I think Miami could use, because I know Myles Gaskin. There are some people that really have fallen in love with him. I don't think his traits exactly match up with what we're talking him as. I think I just like him because we know he's carved out a role there, but there it's certainly a spot, and that spot in particular, Miami, that you can upgrade on. And I think you can upgrade to a good runner in Latavius Murray and have a legitimate good running back. Myles Gaskin's a good gadget back. He can do a lot of things, and he can be on the field almost at all times because he can catch. He's a solid runner. But Latavius Murray would be an upgrade in terms of, rushing out of the backfield. Absolutely. And Miami would be a good potential landing spot. There's a few others I think that would go well, but I'm interested. Maybe he still doesn't get an RB1 role, but we're not drafting him still as an RB1. We're drafting him, as a guy who's going to be a backup in this league. So even if you have drafted Latavius Murray and you're thinking, oh no, because I have. So if you're thinking, oh no, like all of the value or anything good that I saw in Murray's situation is gone, Murray's done. I don't necessarily think so. This might actually be a little bit more of a positive for Latavius Murray than it is for like the Saints offense. I think this could end up being a good thing for Lat Murray and especially his fantasy value.
I think so too. Definitely do not cut Murray yet, because one thing that is guaranteed to happen in week 1, somebody is going to get injured. He's going to get that contract that he wants with somebody and get himself a role. He's too good of a back. It's not like he's fallen apart. He's been durable. He has had fantastic appearances when he's been given the primary role in New Orleans, or even when he's still doing the split share with Kamara. So he's still a very capable back. So hold on to him. Something is going to happen. He's going to get signed with somebody within the next week or so. There's just no way.
Oh, it could happen it could happen before the season starts, to be honest with you, just so they can get him in. He's not going to play week 1. I'll say this. Wherever he goes, he's not playing week 1. That's the sort of the scummy part about all of this, which I will not let that go. The scummy part about this is, like, with COVID protocols still, and the fact that, he has to go in, he has to test negative, he has to go through the process as a team's getting ready for their week 1 games, now has to bring in a running back. It's now a process that's just, man, you just put this guy in a horrible position.
Yeah,
like, I don't like that at all.
After you trim down to the 53-man roster, that's pretty garbage, because if you didn't like that contract before the 53-man cut them then so you can have your opportunity. But to screw them over literally a couple of days before the season starts, I
hate it. I absolutely hate it.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. So we're going to go over some targets and touches here. So we're looking at players that could potentially, get a high target share, high touches, and probably players that you should be looking at for DFS, because we like volume here on Win Daily Sports. By the way, sign up windailysports.com. NFL 2021 is the promo code. If you use that, $100 off a 6-month gold membership. So a $299 value all the way down to $199 for the season if you use the promo code NFL 2021 when you sign up. And my guy here, start 1 for flex: Gus Edwards, Josh Jacobs, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Lockett. Gus Edwards to me.
It's either Gus or Raheem Mostert.
Right. Raheem Mostert, why he goes low, is because that potential for injury. But when he's playing, he's gonna be
and
good.
That's what I'm thinking. If you're gonna use him early before something gets tweaked, because he can do it. He can sit there on 8 carries and get you, freaking 115 yards and 2 touchdowns just because of how freaking fast he is.
Good old Detroit. That
doesn't scare me. Yeah, that does not scare me at all. So it'd either be Gus Bus or Raheem Mostert for me.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go with I'd probably go with Gus Edwards, just because I really want to see. I guess I want to test how much targets, speaking of targets and touches, he's going to get now that, I know that there's another running back behind him, but, Justice Hill, who was the 3rd guy, moved up to the 2nd spot. He's now out for the season. It is looking like it's just going to be a lot of Gus Edwards and a heavy dosage of him. So Gus Edwards, I think I'm just going to take my chance on that many targets.
That's fair.
But Raheem Mostert, like, I think it is between those two. Not Jacobs, not Lockett. It's
I don't want Lockett in a flex spot. We've talked about that. His boom bust. I love the guy in best ball. I love the guy in DFS, but I'm never comfortable with him in seasonal. So
completely agree. You're welcome over there, and you can ask us questions here on the show. And also, if you sign up for a gold membership, you can go to the Discord chat, and they'll be asking questions as well, and they'll be answering questions as well for you, our DFS gurus in the chat. So we'll go to targets and touches now, trying to predict this a little bit because we have no numbers. And next week, it'll be easier. We can base it off of, who had a high target share, who had a high snap count, and can we trust that for the next week? So I think I want to start with Gus Edwards, because now, it's very clearly he's the top back there. Not only the top back, like, he's the only guy there. I know that there's another running back that people are trying to hype up, but let's be honest, man. Gus Edwards is the guy. Like, how many targets, touches are we expecting from Gus?
That is, that's the $1 million question.
It is. Oh, it's a tough one.
I mean, it's legitimately $1 million question because I mean, if you're running him in your DraftKings lineups and he gets north of 20 touches, I mean, honestly, I don't think 18 to 20 in that particular type of game environment with the Ravens is out of the question. With a few targets, it's which game? What time do they play? What time does Baltimore play?
I will look that up
Because I think they're actually a night game. If I'm looking correctly, so I think
the Monday night game. Let me check that real quick.
Yeah, because I don't think we're gonna have to worry about them because I didn't see them in my initial rankings because I was doing I was doing kind of defensive breakdowns.
So DFS, we're not going to worry about this now for your season long, but no DFS because they are going to be in the showdown with the Raiders on Monday night.
He's going to be the highest owned captain by far.
Which is why I actually really like Gus Edwards in that situation, too.
Yeah.
I mean, going up against the Raiders. Hey. That seems pretty good to me. So now, I guess, who are some other guys here? Because it's really tough that we're pretty much guessing target share instead of going based off of information. So if you were to at least predict, okay, I know this guy is going to get a bunch of targets and I'm targeting him in DFS for that reason, who would that be? I'm honestly going to say a guy like Jon Jansen because I even think that he kind of misses out on Tre'Davious White a little bit in Buffalo. And I think Johnson's just going to get peppered with targets.
Yeah. And he was top 5 in targets per game last year.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that's not going to continue. They were using him in the same way. They were actually extending the ball down the field a little bit further during the postseason. So,
and what do we expect out of the Steelers defense? Because we may even predict Buffalo to put up some points here, and Pittsburgh may have to play from behind. And I mean, we could see a ton of targets for Johnson.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, the Steelers have a decent defense, but they're not. I'm worried about teams like the Rams, like the Niners, teams like Green Bay's secondary when it comes to the passing game, Baltimore's secondary when it comes to the passing game, and things like that. I'm not terribly. I'm worried a little bit about that about that pass rush, but I mean Josh Allen can get around that. So I think there's going to be plenty of points to be had there. That aggressive style, heavy blitz, just if that is schemed correctly, mobile quarterbacks can just shred that apart. So yeah, they can score plenty of points, and then Roethlisberger is going to have to throw the ball. So Deontay's a good first selection. Yeah,
I like Deontay a lot in that game. I think they're going to need to throw, and as we know, the more Ben Roethlisberger drops back means more targets for Jon Jansen. I have him a ton in season-long leagues, and I may even be looking at him in DFS as well. So Jacksonville, I want to at least go there because James Robinson.
He was
this defense is bad in Houston, so there's some things that we're going to try. Is he on the? Oh, look at that. We didn't even plan that. Look at me. I actually know what I'm talking about a little bit here. Look at that, guys. But James Robinson, like, it's not even the targets, but the fact that he's going up against such a bad defense. Like, are we looking at a potential, big day here from James Robinson?
Yes. Oh, yes. It's a bad defense. It's a bad offense. They're going to get ahead. If they get ahead, they're not going to sit there and have their rookie quarterback throwing it 40 times a game if they don't need to. They want to get him in there, get him game reps, get him comfortable, and they don't want to risk dropping him back into the pocket when they don't need to in his first game of the season. So if they get up to a big lead, and Tyrod doesn't throw too many turnovers, so I'm not expecting it to be them getting up 21-0 early. They're going to get plenty of work, but it's just that Houston offense does not have the firepower to get anywhere. I love Tyrod. I love the guy, Virginia Tech college quarterback. He's one of the best that ever played there, but I'm also realistic. He is a backup quarterback, backup plus, I guess you can call him that. So I don't think Jacksonville's going to have a problem. And I think the majority of the second half, it's going to be Robinson running the ball.
Yeah, I think so too. And James Robinson, he's now the third down back. Like he's everything there. Cause it's not like, backing up Carlos Hyde is a third down back or anything. Like it's Robinson's going to have to take that workload because they just don't have any other options.
And Robinson still gets 4 or 5 targets a game.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think he's in a tremendous spot here. Now the one I'm gonna make this a little bit difficult for you. You're the expert. I got to do that here.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
I got to give you the tough questions. How do you expect early on the targets to be spread around in Cincinnati? And I ask this because it's a potential favorable matchup against Minnesota. That's one of the worst secondaries of the season last year. And it hasn't really gotten any better. They addressed it a little bit, but not enough for me to think that it's going to improve so much that all of a sudden it's a stay away spot. You're still attacking Minnesota secondary, but just how do you think the targets are kind of spread out between the three? Because there are a lot of targets that could be had, but three guys that are going to demand them in Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd.
I think it'll end up being Tyler Boyd, because I think that offensive line isn't that good, and we've talked about it over the previous weeks. They're gonna want to get Burrow comfortable and get him used to having guys falling around him, having the pocket collapse, moving around. They're gonna want to have quick routes, and I think that facilitates a guy like Boyd out of the slot a lot more than it does these guys that are going to get down the field on the outside. And just it takes too much time for those routes to develop. So I think at least in this first game, it's going to be Boyd, and then it's going to be Higgins, and then I think Chase will get a handful of targets, I believe, but I think they're gonna keep it pretty vanilla for him just to kind of get his confidence going, because he did have a rough preseason. Yeah. So
he could use Boyd as almost a safety net to start the season.
Yeah, and that's the way. And don't forget about Mixon. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he can. When he is healthy, they're not shy from giving him 20-plus touches a game, or 20-plus rushes plus passing targets in a game. He's had some health issues, but I do think that this is finally going to be Mixon's like full-on breakout year.
That's good. I've been drafting him, baby. I got him. I had a couple drafts last night. I had Mixon in both of them. That's just how it happened. It's not like I'm targeting Mixon that much, but like when the spot's available and it's there, I do like Mixon.
Were you early in the draft position? Were you like top 6?
Yes, it happened both. Where I was top 6, I was fifth. I was like third in one and seventh in the other. And seventh was in a 12 team, so about middle, a little bit lower. But
okay, so I've been on the exact opposite for my seasonal drafts this year. I've been in the back half, like 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So when it comes around, I'm usually not in a position to be able to get Mixon when I want to. A lot of times I'm targeting the wide receiver value that's sitting around those spots. So I've been wanting to get Mixon, but I'm not willing to pay early second round value for him.
Yeah, and so we are going through the targets to touches for today, all sponsored by the Sharp app. Players that we're predicting going to get big target shares, and trying to kind of decipher a little bit what the offenses could look like in Cincinnati, who is going to get those target shares. WinDailySports.com. Sign up for a gold membership right now over there at Win Daily Sports. Also, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. How do you, because drafts are still going on, I know there are people finishing up kind of the last few drafts for the season. How do you balance exactly what you were talking about there? I love a player a lot, but sometimes I'm in a spot where I would be maybe reaching too far, because there is a good balance of, okay, I could take this guy a little bit earlier than I want because I think he's that much of a breakout. And okay, but there's somebody sitting there that I know is really good. And yes, I like this player a lot, but I just can't reach for him when that guy's, how do you kind of balance that? Because to me, I've run into that, especially when I was in that third spot. I ran into that a few times where it's like, I love somebody here, but man, I just can't reach for him because there are a few other options that I just see a little bit above him.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're not playing in enough seasonal drafts to kind of get into all of those positions, you want to mix up your player pool a little bit if you're playing volume, even if you do end up getting the same kind of core group of guys, mixing it back and forth. I mean, maybe take a chance or two and reach around early if you really want to get a share of a guy. It's okay. Because, when you're talking about the first, 1, 2, 3 rounds, you're talking about high talent guys. You're going to have busts in every round, but apart from like your top three, your Christian McCaffrey, your Dalvin Cook, your Derrick Henry, you're not really falling off too much.
Right.
Especially when that middle range of running backs is going to be pretty similar when it all comes out in the wash. So if you want to reach a little bit, that's fine. But I'm not gonna take a guy a full round early just because I like him. If I know that I like the value that's already there more. Like I'll take a Justin Jefferson over Joe Mixon because usually I'm setting myself up
and I got into that spot where I love Terry McLaurin, but Justin Jefferson was there, and I haven't been getting Justin Jefferson a lot just because I haven't been in the spot. So I was in a different draft position, and then all of a sudden I realized, man, I can't get the guys I've been falling in love with, like CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin, because Justin Jefferson is right there. So it is a big balancing act, and usually. Just know this: your draft position does, in a way, dictate how you're going to draft and who you're going to get. It dictates it a lot. You're still getting good players, but it's just you're getting them in different spots. So it's just a little bit tougher to balance that act of, I love these guys, they're going to break out too. Okay, well, Justin Jefferson's on the board, though. So I just wanted to ask you that because I ran into that a few times, and it's certainly an interesting spot in the draft to be in. We got a question from my guy, Ivan. Will you guys be confident in Najee, Eckler, and Sanders being your main three running backs? Yes. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have. Yep, we're good. It's if you're talking two running backs and a flex, you've got three guys that could potentially be RB1s at the end of the season. I don't feel bad at all with that.
No, yeah, and like Najee Harris is the one that, okay, what if he doesn't pan out as a rookie and Pittsburgh's offense still isn't great? But he looks good, and you have Eckler there. So you don't need Najee Harris to be, I think, where, we as fantasy experts get a little bit kind of weary about it is if you're drafting Najee Harris as your number one running back. You're not doing that. That's your number two guy. There's still a little bit of risk involved, but even if he doesn't pan out to be, that RB1 and he doesn't work out on the potential, it's fine. He's your number two. Like, I still think he's going to be, let's just say, around Chris Carson numbers. He's going to be around, David Montgomery numbers, even if it doesn't work out, where he's being drafted. So yeah, Harris is your number two running back. It just, that makes things so much better with Eckler there. And now you can kind of do the, kind of low risk, high reward, because the low risk is basically the floor for Harris is, with Chris Carson, David Montgomery, which I'm taking every time as an RB2.
Yep. Perfectly. You said it. Couldn't said it better myself. That's
good. Look at am I the expert now? Should you be the host and I'm
going to flip it out?
I could do it. I could do this.
What are you doing? Win Daily Sports Join us at the Sharp app. You get a month free of Win Daily Gold.
Yeah.
There you go. We're flipping it up. Just swap it over.
Gosh. Well done, man. I'm proud of you. So I guess now let's go, because we can always go with the targets of, who's going to get the most. Who are you actually concerned about heading into week one that they may not potentially get the targets that they did last season, or you just, predicting in this season, there's going to be a drop in usage, in production. Where do you see that, especially here coming up in week one? And I guess a team that I'm at least going to throw out there, just nominate it and just kind of, jog the memory or kind of just toss something out. Tennessee, is AJ Brown, who already wasn't getting a ton of targets, does that drop enough, that it's going to be a problem? But I love AJ Brown. I'm just saying, where is that spot where you go, okay, the targets might drop here?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to go with somebody. Well, it was gonna be somebody like Adam Thielen, but now with the Irv Smith information, I've completely gone 180 on Adam Thielen.
I have too.
For running back, I have a little bit of concern with Chris Carson, just a touch, not like too much. With that Seattle backfield just got crowded all of a sudden. So I think they've got 5 running backs on the roster right now, and I think they're keeping all of them. All of them. They're not cutting any of them. So you got Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, you got Travis Homer. I can't remember DJ Collins. I know Alex or DJ Dallas, and then Alex Collins are all there. And Carson does have a tendency to cough up the ball, and if he does that early, I might have a little bit of concern with him getting kind of set on the sidelines. So he's somebody that I've been kind of looking at as far as being a little bit concerned about his touches, but I want to see it in week 1 and just kind of see what's going on. I'm still going to be putting him in my lineups this week. I'm not concerned. It's just something that I'm thinking about. And then the Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams situation. I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out yet, what that split's going to be.
For the most part, I've been staying away from 3 backfields. It's been the Denver backfield, maybe 4, but I'm staying away from Houston just because they're a bad team. But I'm staying away from Denver. I'm staying away from the Jets, and I'm staying away from New England. I'm not guessing. We'll figure out, and you can get Ty Johnson, in free agency if he is the guy or what. I'm not guessing. I'm not doing it. And I've been finding myself really stacking up on a bunch of wide receivers because after about you draft 3 or 4 running backs, there's just no use because you're guessing and you're probably wasting a roster spot on a lot of these guys. Just wait till it kind of plays itself out and, try and be the one that's keeping your eye on it the most and guess as quick as you can so you can get them in free agency if there's one available or whatever the situation. But those 3 in particular, Denver, I've been completely staying away from. The Jets, everybody's on Michael Carter, but I don't know, Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson are there as well. Those guys aren't just going to give up.
Well, Tevin Coleman's going to be the number 1 guy going into week 1, and I've been firmly under the camp that he was always going to be the number 1 guy going into week 1. Now injuries helped that along a little bit, but that was always my anticipation. So I didn't get there like some folks did. Tevin Coleman was going in the last round of the draft, so I was good there. That's fine. The late flyer like that on somebody that could potentially be a starter for the season. So we do have one question. This is the last question that we'll take here at Win Daily Sports. If you have more and you want them answered, you can go to windailysports.com, sign up for a gold membership, and you can get into our DFS guru chat there in the Discord, and you can ask him your questions there as well. Answer them like we're doing right now. So would you rather have the Patriots defense or the Packers? I'm assuming this for season long, but I'm going to take this as a week 1 question because you should only be drafting defenses based on week 1, 2, 3 matchups, and pretty much that's about it because it fluctuates way too much depending on who they're playing that week. And honestly, maybe the Patriots, the Packers, the Packers maybe. I'm just worried because it's in New Orleans, so it's volatile. It is Jameis. It is Jameis, but it's still a Sean Payton. I guess. This is a good case because to me, it's still a Sean Payton offense in New Orleans, and that's still a tough environment to play. But you're right. I mean, yes, they may give up yards. Yes, they may give up a few scores, but also they may have 4 or 5 picks. Yeah. And look, all it takes is one, and in Jameis's case, 2 pick sixes to completely change your weekly schedule. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, like if you're saying, for the entire season, my personal thought is the Packers just because they're divisional matchups.
Yeah.
You're telling me that I can get Detroit twice a year with Goff throwing the ball. You're telling me I can get a Matt Nagy run offense twice a year. And then you're going to tell me I can, the Packers have been pretty good against the Vikings, even though they've been better the last few seasons. That Kirk Cousins is not anything to be scared of. So you got 6 games right there, right off the bat, that are just prime for that secondary.
Yep. So I look, the Packers, to me, I hate to say even high risk, but there is some risk. I think the reward, though, as you're kind of pointing out, it sort of outweighs any risk there. The Patriots defense could be solid, but what is the reward like you can have in the Packers against New Orleans?
Yeah, and I'm largely a streaming guy. I never reach on my defenses.
I take a look at the first 2 or 3 matchups and whatever ones I like the most, I'll take.
Yeah, because somebody's always playing Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously.
And
somebody's going to be playing Houston and Tyrod Taylor every week.
Yeah. I just target bad teams every week, and more often than not, especially like in things like home league, unless you're playing in the most competitive, upper echelon types of buy-in leagues, Most people
Nobody's
aren't
taking a
paying
look at
attention. Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
cares. They're not worried about defense. They want to draft their favorite team's defense and be done with it, and that's going to be that. Most people aren't thinking, "Hey, who's the garbage offenses, and I can go ahead and just pick up some
Right.
middling defense, and then they'll end up getting a handful of sacks, a couple of picks, or potentially, run a pick six back, and you're golden."
Yeah. So that is it for us here at WinDailySports.com. And this is going to be the schedule here all week. 5:30, we're going to be on, and we're going to be talking about DFS plays now for the upcoming season. Week 1 is coming up. Make sure to get all of your DFS content at WinDailySports.com. Sign up for a gold membership. And again, this is all sponsored right here, these live streams, by the Sharp app. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at some QBs and stacks for tomorrow's live stream. That'll be with Tony Jigsaw Catilla, but that is it for me at JJansen34 and Stoweby. You can follow at STOWEBY. We'll be back tomorrow right here, WinDailySports.com.